Hello, BookTube. I have a cool, hip AM reading for you. Once again, not everything that I'll be reading this weekend, but I picked 6 books out of what will be more than that. There are 3 or 4 that are little things and that are work-related, and I'm leaving room for rereadings, including one that I'll get to. But the first one I want to show you is Revelation. Let's see if we can do this. There we go. Revelation by Robert Knott. This is Robert Parker's Revelation. It's a Cole and Hicks novel. His Western series about 2 basically freelance gunmen who uphold the law in the West. And the series was popular and has been taken over by Robert Knott, who is writing them, even though Robert Parker's name is right up at the top there. And I like the series, and I like Robert Knott. I confess I'm a little unclear on what we're going to do with these things. And we saw this with Robert Jordan, right, where Brandon Sanderson wrote book after book after book of his Wheel of Time series before he brought it to a conclusion. Robert Parker. This is not the only example of him. His Spencer novels are alive and kicking. He's been gone for a long time. I don't know what we're going to do with that sort of thing. It's happened, on and off in literary history, but it's only been really in the 20th century when ongoing series are financial investments, when they are valuable properties, that we've seen these sorts of estate-sanctioned things. I remember once upon a time it was a big deal if the Sherlock Holmes estate authorized a Holmes pastiche of any kind. They mostly didn't. And for the longest time, in fact, it might still be true, the Edgar Rice Burroughs Corporation flatly refuses pastiches in book form. They'll sometimes authorize comic books or movies, but no novels. And I sort of viewed that as kind of the way things were, only recently, because these things are, the public knows the name, all of a sudden you've got these ghoulish afterlives of authors' creative work. I don't know how that's gonna play out. I mean, nobody went to Charles Dickens' widow and said, "Can I write more Pickwick novels?" It's interesting. The larger issue of it is interesting in its own right. But these books are good. Knott is a good storyteller anyway, so I'm on board while I try to figure it out. And the next one is also an ongoing series. This is Heartbreak Hotel by Jonathan Kellerman. This is an Alex Delaware novel. Alex Delaware is his psychologist, crime solver, who's been solving crimes since the 70s. There's a perfect example. The Alex Delaware novels, everything in the world has happened to him and his friends on and off the police force. And it's a perfect example of the Jessica Fletcher syndrome, the murder she wrote syndrome, that I have been a strong proponent of for forever, since the Toff and a whole bunch of other ongoing series, which is that authors ought to, out of a sense of entitlement, they ought to draw a line and say, okay, no matter how financially successful this is, I'm only going to give this character 10 adventures. And then I'm going to wrap it up definitively, so that not only can I not give them any more adventures, but no one else can either. I'm going to kill them, in other words. It didn't work when Arthur Conan Doyle tried to do it, and imagine authors are told by their publicists and agents, don't even think about it. But realistically speaking, Alex Delaware should not still be having adventures. Not only because it's ridiculous to think that someone would be walking to the deli who's had 90,000 shootouts and 80 million psychotics come after him in his lifetime. You wouldn't be recognizably human if that was your life experience. Not only that, but also I'm naturally curious to know what Jonathan Kellerman would be writing if he didn't do this. But anyway, just as with the Robert Parker, I'm going to read it and enjoy it, even though the larger questions are hovering over it. And then there's the next one. I'm dreading it. I'm going to read it, but I'm dreading it. It's Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman is one of the most grotesquely overrated niche authors of the 21st century, and I have never liked anything that he's ever written. And not only have I never liked it, but I've never seen how anyone could like it. I've never. Sometimes with an author like this, I can sit back and say, well, they're checking some boxes. I could see where this would have a fandom. I look at his stuff and I think, God Almighty, this is as thin as cheesecloth. And Norse mythology it worries me. There was a book a while ago called Koba the Dread, in which the author, who was a novelist, decided to write a nonfiction account of Stalin, and he was rightly excoriated by critics who made fun of him for having recently discovered that this whole subject existed. And I'm worried this is going to be something similar, that this is going to be Neil Gaiman saying, well, Norse mythology wasn't much of anything till I came along. And let me tell you about it in my own inimitable way. But I could be wrong. He could approach the subject with humility. As far as I've been able to determine in anything that he's ever written, fiction and nonfiction, comics, letter columns, in anything that he's ever spoken, even a single word off the record or on the record at any convention ever in his entire life, he has never uttered a single syllable with humility. But maybe this will be the first time. And the thing that gives me the sinking feeling about it is that I absolutely love Norse mythology. I love it. I wrote one of my unpublished, unreadable novels was called Edda, and was a story of Norse mythology. And I dearly love it, and I don't want him smearing condescension all over it, but I'm going to give it an open mind, so we'll see. And the fringe benefit, the good side that it's going to have anyway, no matter how he does it, is that his legion of fans are all of a sudden going to discover Norse mythology, and they hopefully won't stick to his book. There's lots of good stuff out there, lots and lots of good retellings, good adaptations. There are all sorts of Icelandic sagas. There's Snorri Sturluson. Some of those thousands of fans might discover some of that stuff, and that would be a net positive. And then the next one is a romance. It started with a kiss by Ella Quinn, with the fashionable upside down kiss cover. But I'm a fan of hers, so the cover could have kumquats on it. Wouldn't matter to me. And then another in a series. This is Jacqueline Winspear, the great Jacqueline Winspear. This is the Maisie Dobbs series, In This Grave Hour, in which World War II is breaking in Maisie Dobbs' world. We're following her through adventures. She's another one that's right on the cusp of the Jessica Fletcher moratorium. She should not survive World War II. She should not survive. Then Jacqueline Winspear should have the courage of her convictions, give Maisie Dobbs a heroic ending, but have her get to VE Day toes up. And yet I know that's not going to happen. I know it. I know that in 10 years she'll be facing the turmoil of the 1950s. And I don't want that to be true. Much as I would hate to say goodbye to Maisie Dobbs, I don't want that to be true. It reaches a point, if you've had 50 people pull guns on you in cab stands, you're going to be in a mental institution. You're not going to be walking around with a smart bob. And then I'll read it anyway. Like all the others on here, I'll read it anyway because they're so good. And then the last thing I want to show you today, the thing that I anticipate will take up most of my reading time this weekend, one day at least, a whole day, is a reread. And it's this. This is not the book itself. This is just something I want to show you. This is the De Doctrina Christiana by St. Augustine, which is on Christian doctrine. I don't know that it's ever been translated in modern times into English. It might maybe in a collected works of Augustine, if there is such a thing. I don't know. One way or another, it's brilliant. Everything he wrote is brilliant. It's I don't know how you would describe it. It's a point by point, thought by thought, theme by theme deconstruction of how you study Christianity, how you interpret the New Testament. And it's amazing in its way because it glows on every page. It glows in every line with faith, personal faith, and yet it is objective, dispassionate. So I'm looking forward to it, geeky as it is. And that's my am reading book 2. I'll list all the books below. Thank you.